Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Konrad Gorlinski. Well, it seems that coronavirus infections have decreased slightly over the weekend, with the Ministry of Health reporting 16,965 new confirmed cases. 48 people have died since yesterday. The worst situation is in Mazovia, Silesia, and Lower Silesia. The number of people infected with SARS-CoV-2 since the beginning of the pandemic has exceeded 2,267,000. Almost 52,000 have lost their lives. In total, over 5,880,000 vaccines against COVID-19 have already been administered in Poland. Almost 3,900,000 people received the first, and over 1,990,000 have received the second dose. We have another 25% increase in infections on a weekly basis. This is a slightly smaller increase than we recorded last week, but it is too early to see any visible trend. For now, we have to prepare for the worst scenarios, i.e. an increase in infections and, unfortunately, an increase in deaths. The positive news is that we are adding hospital beds faster than the number of infections is increasing. Last week alone, more than 5,200 people occupied hospital beds, but during this time the number of beds increased by 5,800. As for respirators, we added 1,000 such devices. Travelers within the Schengen zone are under quarantine. It can be released upon presenting a negative result of a coronavirus test on the condition that the test is no older than 48 hours. All travelers from outside the Schengen area are subject to quarantine regardless of the test they have. Each of these two types of traveler, after receiving a quarantine decision, will be able to undergo a coronavirus test in Poland. If it is negative, the quarantine will be released. And Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki wants the Constitutional Tribunal to answer the question whether, in Poland, the Polish constitutional law supersedes EU law, informed government spokesman Piotr Müller. This is his answer to a recent ruling of the European Tribunal of Justice, where it suggested that EU law is superior to all national laws of member states. According to a widely read Berlin daily Tagesspiegel, Poland is an example of an economic miracle. During the pandemic, the Visegrad Group, led by Poland, has been playing a much greater role in stabilizing the German economy than even China. Tagesspiegel editor Christoph van Marschall wrote, "Everyone is talking about China, but hardly anyone about Germany's eastern neighbors." The so-called Visegrad Four, Poland, the Czech Republic, Hungary, and Slovakia, have a higher share in German foreign trade and also play a greater role than China in stabilizing the German economy in the corona crisis. This is emphasized by experts from the Eastern Committee of the German economy. China trade adds up to 212 billion euros. This corresponds to 9.5% of German foreign exchange, while trade with the 4 EU countries is 1/3 larger, 286 billion euros, or 12.8%. He goes on to specify the strengths of the 4 countries. Poland, with a diverse economy and strong manufacturing base, is undergoing energy upgrades with photovoltaics and energy magazines. The Czech Republic's purchasing power is larger than Spain's, and the German automotive industry is sourcing a large amount of parts from it. In regards to trade with Germany, Hungary outdoes Russia, and Slovakia beats India.
This
is another story coming from Germany. It commends the quality of management of the Polish economy. Should we not have had the obstacles posed by the European Union, we would have been even closer to the German economy. It only shows that we have to continue along these lines. Moreover, the Polish ambition to become a leader in the region now seems to be a very real goal.
Pokazuje, że trzeba ten kierunek dalej pogłębiać.
And a few weeks ago, we reported a Polish civil court verdict in a case where an elderly woman from a remote village one against two acclaimed international writers who accused her uncle of murdering Jews during the Second World War. Her uncle, in fact, had saved Jewish lives, but the authors mistook his identity with someone else's. The case is mentioned in an article in the New Yorker magazine where columnist, Russian-American, and Jewish activist Masha Gessen blames Poland and Poles for complicity in the Holocaust. In a story titled "The Historians Under Attack for Exploring Poland's Role in the Holocaust," Masha Gessen wrote, "The two historians' legal troubles stem from the Polish government's ongoing effort to exonerate Poland, both ethnic Poles and the Polish state, of the deaths of 3 million Jews in Poland during the Nazi occupation." According to Masha Gessen, whose grandfather came from Białystok, where local Poles hid members of her family, the Polish nation and the Polish state are complicit in the Holocaust. Piotr Cywiński, the director of the Auschwitz Museum, said the New Yorker article contains so many lies and distortions that I find it a bit hard to believe that it is a coincidence. Furthermore, when it concerns the Holocaust, any distortion of historical truth is very dangerous. This applies to all forms of denial, revisionism, and deformation of historical truth, Cywiński said. David Harris, the CEO of the American Jewish Congress, said the article's subtitle was defamatory. Germany, and Germany alone, was responsible for the Nazi death camps, from Auschwitz to Treblinka, Harris wrote on Twitter, adding that the infamous words at Auschwitz, Arbeit macht frei, work makes you free, were written in German, not Polish, and that must never, ever be forgotten. Masha Gessen sustained her accusation and answered on her social media profile that her critics' command of English is insufficient to properly understand her text. Thank you for joining us this evening, and I hope you have a great night.